Hey guys, so we're going to do an autumn tree today. I'm going to be using oil pastels, but you can use any medium you want to. It could be crayons, markers. It's all the same. It'll work the same. It just might not have the same finishing look. All right, so we're going to start and we're going to draw a rough edged frame for our picture. We're just going to come in a little bit off of the edges. It just makes for a more interesting piece. That's all. I'm going to stand up here to do this one. So I'm using a rough line. If you prefer not to use a rough line, you don't have to. We talked about lines a lot at the beginning of this school year, as we do every year. And you just kind of make jaggedy marks on here. They do not have to look exactly like mine. As a matter of fact, if you want to just leave it smooth, go right ahead. So I'm going to line that out. So we're doing this autumn tree scene. Now, it's December here in Alabama, and the trees still have their leaves on them. They're still quite beautiful. But the more it gets into this colder weather that we're having, the less we're going to have that. Now, I'm going to draw a quick, we're going to do kind of a landscape, and I'm going to use yellow in my foreground and maybe a yellow-green back here. You do not have to do two hills. You can just do one if you want to. Now I'm ready for the tree. We're going to have it growing from the ground. We're going to color the ground later. You're just going to make some back and forth line movements. The trunk of the tree is going to be thicker. I'm going to come out to the side here. These are for the roots of the tree. I may come back in here with a little bit of black later just to add some detail to it. Now, if you've had me for a while, you know that when we talk about trees, some of our trees around here, a lot of them have the letter Y. So I'm going to do a funky letter Y. I do want you to touch the top of your paper and the sides of your paper too as you're drawing the tree. So I'm just going to come out here. I'm going to do a real simple Y all the way over here to the side. I'm going to make it thicker in just a minute. And then I'm going to have this branch come up. So now you can see that letter Y. If you are thinking ahead and you know that the branches cannot all be seen, like the whole piece of branch, what you want to do is kind of just split off from, like, let's say this branch was growing from this tree. I'm just going to split off and leave an empty space in between some of the branches. You just kind of work like that. I'll do an example of that, but then I'm going to fill it in for my other kids that don't know what in the world I'm talking about right now. So you just kind of leave some empty spaces in there. Okay, now for my other kids, the branches that are coming off from the trunk of this tree are going to get thinner as they get further away from the trunk. So I'm going to come through here. I'm going to turn this into a Y, and then I can have another part come over here. And now I'm going to make this part of the branch thicker, and then as I get towards the sides of my paper, they get thinner. I'm going to turn this to sideways letter Y. Then my kids that know what I'm talking about as far as putting spacing in between, because when it's full of leaves like we're going to draw, you're not going to see all those branches. For my kids that don't understand, just go with it. Let's just draw a Y like right in the middle of the paper. Look at that Y. And then I'm going to come over here. I might do this. Okay? Now, the next step is to take your black, just real gently, real lightly. Just add a bit of black to the branches on your tree and to your tree trunk. This just creates a little bit more what we call visual interest. We're not making a perfect tree here. There are no perfect trees. Okay, so anyway, there's some really beautiful trees out there, though. You know what I'm talking about. Now, y'all know that my favorite color is orange. Or orange yellow, I should say. So I'm going to start with that. We're going to do a technique called a controlled scribble. It's called scumbling. So we're going to scumble. The way you do that is kind of do loop-de-loops, but you do it over and on top of themselves. Basically, you're doing a controlled scribble. So let's do some scumbling. I'm going below the branch line here because the leaves grow off the branches, but we just can't see all of the branches, which is why we've left some of these empty areas in our artwork this time. So I'm doing a controlled scribble everywhere. If I get ahead of you, you could just pause the video. You'll notice that I'm coloring right on top of the branches, and it might get a little bit schmeary looking. That's just cool. It just gives it a different look. Don't worry about it. There's nothing wrong with it. Getting all the way to the edges here, still doing my scumbling. And the more that you do this, the more it's going to fill in and start to look like the leaves on a tree, which is what we're aiming for. Am I right or what? All right, now I'm going to come through here and I'm going to add at the base down here, it's going to be a little bit darker. I'm going to add some red. I'm going to scumble the red everywhere. And I am going to put leaves on the ground, but because a lot of students asked about putting leaves on the ground, what I suggest you do is wait until after you've colored the ground before you start adding some leaves down there. And now my very last part, after I get done scumbling with this red, is to add some beautiful yellow. I'm going to add, it's like the sun is hitting the tree and it's just, fireworks on a tree. Not actual fireworks, but that's what it makes me think of. It's like nature's fireworks. And I'm going to let the yellow come all the way down and in here. And the more you scumble and the more you put your controlled scribble down on the leaves, the more realistic your tree starts to look, which is a very cool thing. All right, now, I often listen to kids and they always make great suggestions. A lot of the kids were talking about how some of the grass right now outside is not perfectly green. Now, in some of their yards, it is perfectly green, so you can choose what you want. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make that kind of dead yellow grass that we've got going on, so I'm going to add a few lines in here. You know what? I'm going to make this root a little bit darker, just so we know where the roots of the tree are. All right, and now I'm just going to take this and lightly add some of this brown. This is a reddish brown. It's actually like the clay dirt that we have here in Alabama, which is kind of cool. Then I'm just going to press down harder on the yellow, and it kind of gives it that dying grass color look that some of the students were talking about. And on this back hill back here, I'm just going to add, maybe I'll have it greener, just a different shade, just so it looks like a different part of the land. Then I'm going to put this lime green color on top of that. And then for the sky, I've had kids do sunsets. I've had them doing sunrises. I've had some do rainbow. I've had some have the sun come up. It's just, it's totally up to you. I'm just going to keep it simple for the purposes of this video. And I'm going to add some of this light blue. And we need to color all the way down to the horizon line, which is where the sky touches the earth, so that we can breathe, y'all. All right, so getting close. And of course, to all my students that asked if they can blend, absolutely. The only time I don't suggest that you blend is if you are using markers, especially with your yellow. If you're going to blend markers, use your yellow first so that the tip doesn't get all dirty. Okay, so there's our autumn/fall tree/early December tree. Hope you guys did a great job. If you want to send me a picture, please feel free to do so. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.